What are you doing? What, the blind leading the blind?
I'm reading a book in Braille. It's a horror book, and something bad is about to happen. I could just feel it.
You're completely out of control, man. Um, Let me go to lunch real quick.
No, let's record a podcast real quick, dude.
Welcome to another edition of the Big Dad Energy Podcast. I'm your host, Nick.
And I'm Gus.
And we are Big Dad Energy.
Welcome, welcome.
If you haven't already, please like and subscribe on whichever platform you are listening to this podcast. How you doing, man?
I'm good, dude. How you doing?
Can't complain.
A little stressed out.
Yeah, man. I know we're about to dive in to this episode here, but just, going through some things. I actually have my my first session tomorrow. I am taking the step to, better myself, better my mental, better my my life, better my family. So first therapy sessions tomorrow. So
Okay. You think it revolves around stress?
Yeah, I do. I think it's a lot of things, to be honest with you. But I definitely think stress is a major factor into allowing, what I'm saying, like all of it to come out. So
Yeah. I'm not going to say I don't deal with stress cuz the world is a stressful place. But I found a quote that just really stuck with me for the past, I don't know, probably 2 decades. And it's just too blessed to be stressed. Anytime I really, really feel stressed, I go back to gratitude and just realize how blessed I am. Regardless of what's going on, it could be so much worse. I like to listen to Tony Robbins, an amazing resource, great information, great energy. But he made a point that a lot of times when we're feeling down, when we're feeling stressed, when we're feeling depression, a lot of these negative feelings stem from us not matching our blueprint, right? We start to feel like just our life doesn't match the blueprint of what we thought life should be. And there's a lot of things that compound on top of that. One thing is social media. When you see people that are doing better than you, even if it's not true, on social media people are going to post the good, they're not going to post the bad. But when people that you went to high school with are posting how successful they are, and you thought in your life by this point I was going to be this successful, I was going to have millions of dollars in the bank, and I was going to own XYZ, and I was going to be driving this kind of car, right? And for me, I've surpassed what I thought my life could be when I was younger. Coming from where I grew up, seeing everybody around me, like I had no idea. I didn't have expectations. And so I've already surpassed those expectations that I have of myself, right? Got a beautiful wife, I have beautiful kids, I have an amazing house, I have so much toys and distractors, like I literally have wants for nothing. And that grounds me and brings me back to gratitude, where shoot, even if the worst of the worst happens, it can always be even worse than that. So that's just kind of one of the mechanisms that I use to cope with that, right? I try to be as resourceful as possible. You know how resourceful nature is?
yeah, I mean grounding I know is a big point. Taking your shoes off, letting you connect with the earth.
Well, nature is so resourceful that it can literally make do with water.
Can't with you.
Literally make do with water.
You're completely out of control. No, but I'm absurdly blessed. I have a beautiful family that I love and wouldn't change anything for the world, but I know stress is like a natural part of life, right? And when it becomes overwhelming, it could take like a physical and mental toll. I remind myself every day about my blessings and what's around me and all things like that. And then there's certain like boiling points, where you can like get to as like a sign. That's at least my most common sign of stress, at least for me, right? Because you have the physical stuff, you have the emotional stuff, the behavioral stuff, things like that you can that show if you're in some type of stress, whatever's going on. For me, a lot of times it's when it boils over. I think it's just me putting too much pressure on myself because I didn't have my dad when I was growing up, right? So for me, it was a lot of, well, my parents were divorced and went their separate ways by the time I was 2. So like for me, it was I don't want to put my kids through that. So like it's like every goal I set for myself is to be a better dad for my kids, right? And be a better husband for my wife. Whereas my dad failed at those, right? So, but I think for me, it's a lot of putting my own stress on myself, and things like that. I'm sure there's some other things going on with it. This isn't my therapy session. That's for tomorrow.
Right, 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 right.
It's you gotta have the self awareness, right? To at least, and not for yourself, for those around you, to pay attention, right, to those signs that are around you. Like whether they're physical, emotional, behavioral. Someone not eating as much, someone crying a whole lot than they used to, or just not having any type of emotion, things like that. The physical one actually happened to me a few years back. I was at work and I had this real bad pain in my chest, and it was kind of freaky because it was like right at the heart and like right in that general area of your body. So I left work, went to the urgent care, and they stress induced inflammation was the diagnosis. They were like, everything looks fine. So from everything that you're telling me and from this test and all that stuff, it was just stress induced inflammation. And that from life, from work, whatever it may be, it was just that's one of those physical signs, of stress.
Well, chemically, stress releases a hormone in your body called cortisol. And I'm about to say something that's highly controversial, but I think some cortisol is good, right? Even if you take it back to primitive times, if you didn't have that stress hormone, there'd be nothing to push you, to scare you, to stress you into going out to search for food. If you didn't have that stress hormone, if a saber-toothed tiger was chasing you down, you wouldn't be stressed to run away or protect your family, right? So some cortisol is good, but it has to be managed.
Oh, 100%.
Simon Sinek, another amazing mentor that's out there, another great resource, he made the point that when cortisol is coursing through your system, especially in high amounts, it shuts off other important systems in your body, like growth, right? And this is a quote from him: if you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, your body doesn't put priority for your nails to grow, so your growth stops. But another thing that stops is your immune system, right? You don't need your immune system to outrun a saber-toothed tiger. But now that we live in a world that's just a lot of stress, a lot of social stress, a lot of occupational stress, family stress, societal stress, like there's just so many stresses that it's coursing through your body. It's actually doing you harm. It's harming your immune system. But one thing that Jim Rohn, who I mentioned in a previous podcast, said that was pretty powerful to me is like, if you get bit by a venomous snake, right, the best course of action is to take care of the bite instead of chasing the snake around, trying to catch him and ask him why he did that, right? If you're working or if you're focusing on the problem and not the solution, you're just continuing to poison yourself with that venom or stress.
Oh no, correct. It's you have to, like you said, it has to be your cortisol levels need to be managed, right? So your stress level needs to be managed because uh, there is such thing as a healthy amount of stress. Kind of like what you were saying, right? Like it keeps you alert, right? It kind of helps you align your priorities where they need to be aligned. it's it can be useful. It needs to be managed, right? You don't want to get to that your boiling point, right? Or where it starts spilling over, because if it starts affecting your life, it starts affecting your family, it starts affecting your work, things like that. That's when it needs to be, managed, and that's where it needs to be. Kind of need to take those steps to kind of figure out how to help yourself manage it, right? So pressure busts pipes, but pressure also makes diamonds.
Yeah.
It's all about how it's utilized, right? It's all about how you manage it. You can either allow it to bust, right? Or you can allow it to help refine you and make the best out of it, right? Make lemons out of lemonade, so to speak. So, um, there's definitely a lot of different tips. The one thing that I really like to stress on, at least for myself, is having a solid support system. I feel having someone to be able to lean on or talk to, regardless of who it is, and that's something that Cindy and I were talking about the other day, was you need to find some type of outlet, whether that's your spouse, your mom, your friend, a therapist, whoever, right? You need to have some type of outlet where you can be able to talk about those things, and in a safe space, right? Because um, one thing that can hinder your improvement or your managing your stress is judgment, right? So if you're already at a point of stress or a point of where it's boiling over, if you're then going to get like judged or criticized, or it can compound your problems, right? It can make it sometimes a little worse. One thing that my boss said that I find really impactful, that I really need to start reminding myself about a lot more, is before we enter into this conversation, are you looking to vent or are you looking for a solution? And by doing that, you're allowing the correct expectation to be set going into the conversation, right? Either I need to be sitting here to listen, to be uh, thoughtful, show empathy, and you know, try to let them get this off their chest, or do I need to be kind of searching for what the problems are to kind of help find a solution to the problem. A lot of times both can come out of a conversation, but I think level setting on what you're about to go through whenever you're talking to whoever you're talking to, I think can definitely go a long way in helping ease that conversation.
Yeah, and a lot of guys don't vent. That's not something that I personally have gotten results from. And it's probably because there has to be a level of trust, to your point. You're going to be making yourself vulnerable to judgment. And depending on how that goes, if it makes the situation even worse, now you're going to be less likely to vent. Now you're going to be bottling a lot of stuff up. So, to your point, for me, it's not focusing on the problems, it's identifying the problem, but focusing on the solution and prioritizing those solutions. Another great resource is Big Rocks, Little Rocks, right? Where a lot of us spend a lot of time on the little rocks or the low priority stuff, and the big priority stuff keeps mounting and keeps building, and we feel like we aren't getting a lot of traction, so it builds even more stress, where a lot of times you just have to take a step back. You have to have that high life acumen to know what those big rocks are, what those little rocks are, what you need to focus on to make changes to alleviate the stress.
No, I'm with you, and some of those changes to alleviate the stress can be a number of things like being able to just go out and golf, right? Or if that's something you like to do, or just being able to spend some time clearing your head, right? You know what they say: if you go golfing, you should bring two pairs of pants, right?
Just in case you get a hole in one.
So it's going to the gym, right? Exercise, going to a friend's house, going whatever. You know, I know they say that comfort food, right? Food can be a comfort. That can either help or deter your stress. I know sometimes having a balanced diet um, can help with your overall stress level if you're eating better, right? If you take care of your body, then that high level of cortisol, if you end up getting stressed, right? If you're healthy and you're taking care of yourself, maybe you have a better shot at being able to handle those. Um, you don't want your hamburger and your veggie burger getting in a fight.
Why not?
They got beef. So it's you gotta, like you said, like I that's something I need to remind myself of. I know it's something that Cindy's been reminding me of, having an outlet and how important that can be, right? Being able to allow yourself to decompress, um, lower those cortisol levels, things like that, right? Um, and a lot of times I'm just saying it out loud just because I need to remind myself. So uh, it's very helpful being able to, whatever you want to do, whether it's praying, your deep breath exercises, exercising, yoga, whatever it may be, you gotta find it. Because I know you mentioned something earlier that I thought was, I don't think that just relates to you or I, right? Is that um, a lot of men don't vet, right? It's a lot of men don't mention that they're not okay, right? And that something's going on. But it's okay to not be okay. And that's something you have to like remind yourself, right? Regardless of what the situation is or what's going on. The first, this this isn't an AA meeting or anything like that, but and I don't mean to laugh or make light of the situation, but that's usually one of the first steps, right? When you have a problem is admitting you have a problem, right? So whatever that may be. So um, just yourself better than anyone else knows you a lot of times. I feel like my wife knows me better than I know myself sometimes. So just being able to be self-aware or have somebody in your support group that knows you enough to a point where it's being able to recognize when you're stressed, right?
Well, and it has to be somebody that you absolutely trust. Somebody that has the character and the competency to talk with you and figure out solutions. You know why you can never trust atoms, right?
They make up everything. I love that one. It's one of those things because stress is an inevitable part of life, right? It's gonna happen, whether it's at home, at work. We've talked about those things. It's finding what works for you, um, to be able to deal with that and to manage it. Uh, that's important because everybody deals with it differently, and everyone has a different outlet, right? Some people, you could get so like overwhelmed. I know sensory, like overwhelming your, what's it called, like overwhelming your senses, a sensory overload. I'm trying to think. Overstimulated is the term I'm looking for, from scrolling through your phone too much, spending too much time on a device, right? Because that's why they say, like, when I was younger, it's probably why I didn't sleep as good. If you fall asleep with the TV on, it stays on, you're not really sleeping. It's because the electromagnetic waves, right, coming off the TV, the radio signals it's emitting.
There's a frequency.
Yeah, the frequency, right? It keeps your brain awake, so you're not fully resting.
I wonder if that's why some people have to sleep with like white noise going on in the background because their brain is trained to fall asleep at certain frequencies.
That could be 100% what it is. There's some people that can fall asleep in the city, and there's some people that can't. Sometimes the noise outside helps. Sometimes it being too quiet is a detriment and doesn't help.
And that's where me and my wife differ. Because I don't want to have any technology in my room at all. Like, I don't even want a TV in my room, but my wife likes having background noise going. She does her work in bed sometimes on her laptop, and I'm just so anti that. Because beds are for two things: sleeping and something else. But, like, I don't want to condition myself to watch TV in there. My body is conditioned, and it pisses my wife off that as soon as I hit the bed, I'm out. I'm not scrolling through my phone. I'm not doing anything like that. I try to charge my phone in the other room if I can, right? But for emergency purposes, I charge it next to my bed, but I'm just not on it because that does something to you. It's a release of endorphins all the time. And that's why if you crack your screen and your phone gets turned off, like, you freak out because we don't realize how addicted we are to technology, right? When my kids get grounded and I take away their Nintendo Switch or their iPads, like, they go into freak out mode. It's because they're so addicted to that dopamine that they get from scrolling or texting their friends or whatever. And yeah, it's wild.
It is, and because my oldest is grounded right now. It's he. I think we're kind of lucky in the fact that I don't think he freaked out the way we were expecting him to freak out. Um, Taking away the electronics and things like that. But we just had a family meeting the other day. The first of many. Plan on doing one once a week. So just kind of outline your week, what you want to accomplish right that week, holding each other accountable. Setting some standards, things like that. And one of the things we were talking about is our family time and needing to be fully invested in the family time, which means like I know watching a movie is considered having like electronics on, but even if we're doing that, not being on our phones on top of that, right? Not having something else deter us away from family time, being present in the moment, um, things like that. Just because you're right, we gotten so used to and so addicted to having the world at our fingertips that we don't realize how addicted we are to it, right? Even at work, it's so revolving around the technology. I'm staring at a screen all day, and coming home, whether it's the TV on, my phone, whatever it is, I'm still staring at a screen, and I have no doubt that is making the stress worse or adding something else to it, just because I'm never truly unplugging.
What's the first thing you do when you wake up?
Check your phone.
See what's going on X, see what's going on Facebook, see if somebody liked one of your pictures.
I sleep with a watch on, and I grab my phone to check the time. Like it's nuts almost, but that's the world that we live in.
Here it is, Nick. Here's what we're going to do. Let's do a 30-day challenge, okay? After 8:30 p.m., when the kids go down, let's do no technology.
How am I supposed to plan for our podcast?
If you wake up an hour or two earlier, because you're going to be getting more sleep, to get on there and check it out. I'm down for that. You down for that?
After 8:30, no technology? Man.
I mean, I could do it after about 8. Now, I'm not talking about no technology. It's just no entertainment screen time, right? If you get a phone call, take the phone call.
Yeah. Or text. But no scrolling through social media.
Text message we can push to the next day. If it's an emergency, it's going to be a phone call. If it's a text message, it's not an emergency. You know what I mean? So what do we say? Like 8 o'clock, no TV, no video games, no computers, no cell phones. We'll run it for 30 days. See how it affects us.
Your mom likes to watch Survivor.
Hey, that's fine. She can watch Survivor.
but we're watching it with her. Let's yeah.
I'll go read a book.
No, I get you.
I'll go play my guitar and practice on that because that's something I need to do. I'll go build a model.
Yeah.
You could read a comic book.
Let's do 9.
9. Why? Because there's a TV show you want to watch?
No, it's just the way like it's. I can commit. I want to commit to 8:30. But I can't guarantee there might be a day where I don't do 8:30. That's why I was like. That's why I was like. I could do. Yeah, we could do 8:30.
Let's do 8:30. Phone calls do not count. So shoot, take that time to call somebody you haven't called in a long time. Call that homeboy you haven't talked to in a long time. Call that family member you haven't talked to in a long time. Like that would be dope. Instead of scrolling through your phone and seeing who's looking at Big Dad Energy and commenting, you know?
I'm just letting you know that if Saturday night Notre Dame plays at 7:30, I'm not.
That's a good point. What if that comes up? Like, I say, okay, we'll do football. Football will be the exception. I can't think of anything else that would be the exception. Because even if it's family time, let's friggin' play a board game with the kids.
That's what we talked about. Is like family time doesn't always have to be a movie. It could be a card game, a board game.
Paint something. Let's color and coloring. Like, all right, I'm down for this 30-day challenge. This is gonna be dope.
Yeah, I could do this.
Let's see how next week's episode goes. We're gonna be like, oh my god, this is so hard.
Probably. But I'm gonna let you know. I'll probably be about at 75% in the 30 days at least. But I will say this though: committing to that is going to be helpful because even if you or I have, I mean, I'm not trying to work in excuses or anything like that. But if you or I were to have like a slip up here or there over the course of 30 days, we're still knocking down our screen time.
Nah, you're setting yourself up for failure. That's the standard. We cannot dip below the standard. No slip-ups. We made an exception for football. I think that should be the one.
Well, I know. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, just the football one.
Well, emergencies. You said phone calls and like emergencies, things like that.
I mean, but phone calls are allowed. It's just no text messaging.
I know that. That's what I'm saying. It's just like, yeah, that's what I'm meaning. I'm not meaning like a slip up, like, oh, we decided, I just decided to say screw it after like 4 days. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
99% of the stuff that I watch is streamed, so I'll just stream it the next day. I'll stream it earlier with my family the next day if that's something we're gonna watch. But honestly, I try to stay away from those kind of distractors because I have an addictive personality. My COVID hobby was RC, and I just dived way off the deep end. A hobby of mine was photography, and I dove way off the deep end. I used to watch all the shows when they came out, right? The Game of Thrones, and man, all the way back to like The Sopranos and stuff like that. Like that was family time, but now, like I don't even watch shows because I know I'll get hooked to it, and I don't need to. I don't even have any streaming services except for Peacock because it was 99 cents a month in the last Black Friday deal.
No, but that's good though because you have to find the time to unplug, right? You have to find the time to turn the device off, put the device down, and learn to have a conversation. I know that's something that we talked about with the kids, especially, is just pouring a glass of lemonade, going out and sitting in the backyard or whatever, just enjoying nature, having a conversation, whatever it is. So, no, I know that's definitely something that we're working on and discussing and trying to get better at because it's very easy to fall into that complacent state, right? Into complacency. Talked about last week if you haven't listened yet.
And that builds stress too.
Oh, 100%. 100% it builds stress because if you're complacent and you're just going through the motions, you're not doing what needs to be done. You're not getting things done. You're not living your best life, so to speak.
Dude, if you're not growing, you're dying.
Oh, 100%.
Point blank.
My grandfather used to say, if you're not learning, you're living. And I 100% agree with what you just said. If you're not growing, you're dying because if you don't water your plants, what's going to happen?
They're going to die. But if you overwater your plants, guess what else is going to happen?
They're going to die.
They're still going to die. So there has to be a balance, right?
100% balance with everything. Hot take here, but that's why I didn't hate episode 7, 8, and 9 of the newer Star Wars trilogy, because the whole entire time they were building up to there needs to be a balance in the Force. So I didn't hate it as much as everybody else, but had to throw in there. There's got to be a balance with everything.
There are two unspoken rules of stress. The first is, and the second is,
Picking up what you're putting down. Yeah, so just to wrap up, if you're struggling to manage that stress, right, and you just don't hesitate to reach out to help. And, like we talked about, it's got to be someone you trust. And everybody trusts a little different. There's always resources available in your community. I know we just talked about putting down the devices. You can Google help. It's that easy these days. And telehealth, right? Those kind of like those online virtual things is really taken off to provide some resources for you. So it's okay to not be okay. And if you need help, don't hesitate to look for help or to reach out.
hit me up.
Hit you up. Hit us up. Talk to us, right? Let us know what your thoughts. Let us know what you're thinking. We could be an online support group. We're both dads. We get it, right? Whatever you need. But I greatly appreciate y'all for tuning into another episode of the Big Dad Energy Podcast. We would, like I just said, we would love to hear from you. Please don't hesitate to reach out on social media at Big Dad Energy Pods. You can also comment on the videos, or you can email us at nick@bigdadenergypods.com.
Or Gus at bigdadenergypods.com as well.
Please comment down below. Don't hesitate to reach out, even if it's to us. But until next time, stay positive and bring the energy!
That was kind of weak sauce, bro. Let me see where you bring it. Say it from your chest, look.
Say it with your chest, right, Kevin Hart? Stay positive and bring the energy!
There you go.
Let's go.